This is not about perfection. This is not about, there is no white picket fence. And behind that white picket fence is always a pile of shit somewhere, okay? Look at you. G.I. Jane, I love it. With a flair. You look good.
Hi, you look great too.
Thanks.
Where'd you get your shirt?
Ardent's.
Ooh, massive fail.
No.
We talked about this last podcast. This is the
Yeah.
shirt you got at Argent in New York
Argent.
City, and it's a beautiful color to go with your beautiful lips.
I got the lips in New York City, too. I didn't get that.
Did you?
As in the lipstick.
Did you go to a plastic surgeon?
Who is this stuff called? No, I didn't go to I went to, remember we ran into,
Bloomies?
yeah, to get the lipstick to go with the shirt that I had just bought across the street.
You are such a good shopper.
I am such a good shopper. Anyway.
But we had a shopping incident.
Oh, yeah, it's still.
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there. No, we had a murder bag. Literally, it was like, that's what we called it the rest of the trip. It was
Yeah.
a murder bag. We're in this store and she turns around slowly and talks to me, and this whole thing is scraping against my arm and just opening up wound after wound with blood.
You were dripping.
And the lady who's in the store goes, well, it's a good thing you're in a jewelry store. I do have some alcohol wipes. I put these alcohol wipes on there. I thought I was going to
Hit
die.
Well,
Enough
I'm glad
about
that
my
was
wound.
all for the shopping
You
incident.
in the murder bag.
Murder bag.
You look hot.
Well, thanks so much.
Wait, don't you
know.
want to there you go. Style it out a little bit.
Cleavy.
There you go.
Little cleavy.
Yeah.
Would you divorce me for the murder bag cut?
No, not for that.
What would you divorce me for? Pretending we're married, like we're together, we're
What
married.
would I
it's fine.
divorce you for?
Yeah. What would be your
I
grounds?
can't imagine you making such a bad offense.
I wouldn't.
Well, if you got boring or something. Yeah. Okay. I'm bored now. I need a divorce.
That entertaining. Do you think I'm entertaining?
Oh, you're highly entertaining. Have you seen yourself? Oh my God! The best way to watch any movie at home with you is when you get up and start shaking your ass, like twerking and stuff. Just because we could be watching a serious movie and you get up and you get right between me and the TV, turn your back on me, get low and start twerking, and I'm like, okay.
Just
This
wanna
is
keep
fun.
it spicy.
You
My
keep
aura
it
ring
spicy.
is like, get up. You got to move your legs. Quit watching TV. And I'm like, okay. You know what has the best little dance montage?
What?
That show, The Perfect Couple on Netflix.
Oh, it
with
does.
Nicole Kidman and Liev Schreiber.
I bet you're going to know that next time we're watching that.
Dun, dun,
She's so good. Yeah, she's a dancer.
It's a very serious murder show. Speaking of murder
good.
bags.
It's got
and-
Nicole Kidman. She's in everything.
Yeah.
Right?
She's making a comeback.
She looks good in this one. I mean,
I still wish that Regal Cinemas would please stop
oh, come on.
that
You and
advertisement
Clary, give her a break.
in her silver
She looks great.
jumpsuit where she sits down and says, movies make you feel like a la.
They do. I
Because you
agree.
are.
I agree with her.
I just make fun of it now.
Yeah, I agree.
Not her.
Yeah.
The ad.
Okay, so what would you divorce me for?
A lot.
Like what?
Nothing.
No, come on.
No, nothing. I like
come
you too
on.
much.
Be honest. What
If you started being mean to me or something. I don't know. I mean, we don't have a thing
not
where
a mean
you
person.
like your quirks. I like your very sharp
Yeah.
feedback. I
Right.
like
But divorce is real.
divorce is real, and we've
Divorce
both
is
gone
real.
through
We've
it.
both gone through it.
and a lot of people have gone through it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are
Have,
going through it.
Going, maybe you will, and it's rough.
Yeah, divorce is rough. I mean, it's an ending to the never-ending story. It's like you promised forever and ever, and oops, kind of not forever and ever, which probably needs to change. Now, if we do get married, that's not going to be in there. Like the whole forever and ever thing, death do us part. Maybe that's why there's so many murders, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about.
But isn't it so interesting?
It's hard to talk about divorce with a straight face with us for some
It's-
reason.
it's
Why
bad.
is that?
I don't know. But
not funny.
you just said how you wouldn't have it in there forever and forever and always on always, but like we say that to each
contract.
other on a regular basis.
And I know we do say that to each other. We mean it, but I mean, really, a good idea is to have a contract. You know, a prenup or whatever you want to call that, but it's a contract that says every year we will revisit this marital situation, and we will decide if this is still working. And if we can't fix it, we will decide. They'll have exit plans and stuff. But that's in Liv's world.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that.
I think so too. I mean, because
now.
the whole part of marriage that I think is disdainful for you is the contractual aspect. So it's interesting.
I can't stand that. It's like it literally is an institution. I don't want to be institutionalized.
I'm going to institutionalize you.
You
though.
are, I know. We're
going.
there. We're almost there. It's all right. As long as I got an escape pod somewhere, I'm good. We've actually been asked this a lot, and because we've both gone through a divorce, and I don't care what kind of divorce you're going through. You might even be going through an amiable divorce. I mean, mine was not horrible, but it's the worst days of your life. It's some of the worst days. I mean, even if it's amiable, because there's such disappointment and such heartbreak.
Talk about that for a second. Stay on that. So where's the disappointment?
For me personally, and I don't know for others, but it was in myself. Like, I felt like I had failed something. And so I did a lot of introspection on that and realized that I hadn't actually failed the marriage. The marriage between the two of us had failed. We had done a darn good job in a lot of ways of keeping it together.
Right.
And I think people that can survive the storms of marriage, or the storms of life, living together, it's not that marriage causes the storms.
Yeah.
It's the storms come in life, and you're married and you're together and you have to deal with it. I gave myself and my ex-husband lots of badges of courage on sticking together through a lot of those things.
Did you have disappointment coming from any other venue besides yourself?
Yeah, sure. How about my family? I mean,
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, people were very disappointed that, me particularly in my case, that I had put on a facade. My ex-husband and I had both sort of put on a facade, and don't we all to some degree, of like everything's just okay.
Right.
But when you do that to the people you really love, like your daughter, she was more than disappointed. She was devastated. So that is the worst part if you've got children. I don't know what it's like to get a divorce without children, and I'm sure it's hard. But when you got children, I don't care if they're in their 30s or 40s.
Right. We both determine that no matter what the age, it's still going to be a challenge, because I know that the facade, as you said, of you and your husband, I mean, on that facade aspect, you are both good looking, role in the Ken and Barbie style, honestly.
We did roll that a lot, didn't
society.
we?
Yeah.
We did.
I mean, you look good, you played the part, you've been together a long time.
He's a lot of fun. He's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're a leader in the community, and so I think that's a visual for a lot of people. So I would imagine that would have a level of disappointment. So it's like y'all were Ken and Barbie, and now you're like Barbie and Bridget, Midget, Gidget. What's her name?
No, Midge. And then
how's that feel?
I'm not Midge. He's Midge.
You were Barbie. He was Ken. You're Barbie, and I'm Midge.
Wait, you're not Midge. No,
that was the line I was drawing.
That's the line you were drawing?
That was the comparison.
No, we're Barbie and Barbie. Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Barbie.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, phew.
God, nobody wants to be Midge. Remember the movie? Like, is she the one that was pregnant?
I do. Yeah. And that's why,
and
that's
like,
how I
nobody
feel.
wants a pregnant Barbie or pregnant anything.
Yeah, they discontinued her.
They did discontinue her. This is really, really going sideways. I love going sideways. Keep going.
There's a level of disappointment. One, let's talk about that when you're going through a divorce. And that is often internalized, right? So there's all this going on the outside, but on the inside, one of the big feelings is disappointment.
Yes.
Because you have promised yourself, likely in front of God, your best friends, a church, or whatever.
And your partner, that you're in it to win it, to the bitter end.
So for me, it was disappointment. I didn't feel like I had been a failure because I just didn't believe that was what had happened. I didn't believe that I failed at marriage. I believe
What do you think happened?
I believe we weren't supposed to be together, and it's a miracle that anybody stays together. I think it's fascinating that of the 300 million people on the face of the United States, that we just randomly end up with somebody and promise to spend a life with them. And I think that's magical, and I feel very strongly about our connection. But when you're in your 20s,
it's hard to know.
You do the next thing. It wasn't a failure for me. It was a disappointing those around me, specifically my family, when I'd been told that no one in our family got divorced.
Right.
And so I was carrying
And a lot of people are getting
the
told
weight.
that.
Yeah.
You're still.
I'll always carry that.
Yeah.
I will always and forever
You're
carry
the one
that.
black sheep in the family.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're
So
welcome.
I've got to find some pride in that.
I would carry that with pride. It takes one person to change a dynamic. And a lot of times in a family, and I think in a healthy way. I mean, you've changed the dynamic in your family, your maternal family. They might not like it, but the dynamic has changed. And it took courage to walk away from a marriage that wasn't working. People would say it takes more, you should stick in it, you should do whatever it takes to do. But we all know that in the marriages that we're in, there are things that we don't talk about in public. And we all have them, and you that are going through divorces are thinking about it. Don't just finger point at yourself constantly. What will my mom and dad think? Or what will my sister or my children think? It has got to be a real deep soul level decision. And you are breaking a contract that you made.
Well, if I cared so much about what they thought, I would have stayed married.
Well, that's true.
I mean, truly.
And why? I mean, yeah. And you would have stayed in a marriage that was probably not going to, I don't know, maybe it would have worked out.
Well, let me say, like, I don't think it was serving me. I don't think it was serving my ex-husband. I don't think it was serving my children. And that's all that I had to look at the end of the day. And obviously, if you get to the point where you're getting a divorce, there's been some discussion and understanding and years, hopefully, of trying to work through that. And in the previous podcast, we've talked about priorities in that way. And the priority for me was to make sure that I was going to be okay and that my children were going to be okay. And more importantly, that they were going to see an example of two people in a partnership is what I want them to understand in a marriage. So I didn't feel like a failure. I did feel like I was disappointing those around me, but at the end of the day, I wasn't disappointing myself. And you pray you're not disappointing your children. To a degree, you absolutely are, because they put everything on a pedestal. And I know at a younger age, and even at your daughter's older age, that family togetherness. And then we talk a lot about others. So while divorce is unfortunately fairly common, like, you're still an other. Your friends are like,
that's right.
Whose house are you at? You know, are you at your mom or your dad's?
It's hard for kids. Yeah.
There's so many difficult things.
So you weigh that out, and you weigh out, do you want them to model the behavior of a bad marriage, or do you want to model the behavior of a person who stands on their own feet, owns who they are, and moves on? And I think you did that, and we'll see how it all works out for kids and such. Kids are kids, and it's hard. We all just want to believe our parents are perfect and just get through it. So.
Right. I mean, I think kids would want you to stay together generally, just like no matter what. But I think when they're older, they recognize, like, no, not necessarily.
So
I think
we're going to come down on, it really doesn't matter what the kids think? Is that what we're saying?
No. I don't think a decision between two adults in a marriage should have the kids' opinion in it. I think their care and concern should be foremost. I would have never asked my kids, like, do you think we should get divorced? I mean, hell no. That's not part of the discussion. But they matter. Right. In the lifestyle that you're then creating for them.
So I'm going to interview you on this one. How did you navigate, because you had a very young daughter and son, and now they're older and they're well adjusted. So obviously you did something right.
I hope so. They'll be in therapy like the rest of them.
Right.
About
aren't
me.
we all?
I mean
yeah. And it's not about, there is
right
no
or
perfect
wrong.
life.
No.
This is not about perfection. This is not about, there is no white picket fence. And behind that white picket fence is always a pile of shit somewhere. Okay? And so anyway, let's just get that clear. So how do you think you navigated that well enough? I mean, nothing is perfect. How did you do it?
Well, I haven't done it. I'm still doing it. And I do hope that they will be, adjusted and create their own positive relationships that, are based in love and caring and respect, and that they are sure of themselves. It's really about giving them some confidence, because I know that part of what went wrong in my relationship was my lack of confidence and my not being myself. And again, I think it's just part of this tricky scenario of, like, biologically to procreate and recreate, we have to do it early. And so that's really tricky, that we're asking babies to get married forever and have children and raise them. And so, I liked having children early because I felt young and vibrant, and I'm 45 and they'll be both gone soon. I mean, I have an 18 and a 16-year-old. So I don't know that I'm answering your question, but what I always had to put forward was that I'm okay, you're going to be okay.
Right. You're safe.
You're safe and you're loved. And there's not going to be fighting and tension anymore around you.
Right.
So that might throw some curves your way, but also hopefully that makes you more resilient. That you don't grow up and that your life was a sham. Everything is picture perfect. It's not. Right. I don't want to solve all their problems. I want to be with them in them.
There it
So I'm
is.
not saying I got divorced so they'd be more resilient. Let's be clear.
Well, you model the behavior of an independent human being, whether it's a man or a woman. And you had a bit of I think a lot of marriages have a power struggle. And, if one is sort of more powerful than the other one, it can be a problem. But I think you've done a really good job. And so one of the other things you can do and at least for me, going through my divorce, and again, mine was, it's hard for me to say it was amiable because it was a divorce and it was very hurtful and very hard and lots of tears and resentments, even though we were very upfront about what was going on. I mean, once you really stand up and go, I'm not going to be in a toxic situation here, then how do you take care of yourself? And what if your family and friends are not supporting you? Ways that I think that I did, because I can't think of anybody that was really excited and jumping up and down for joy that I was getting a divorce after 37 years of marriage. Excuse me, as I drink my water, as I choke on my words. But one of the ways I navigated that was physically.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the studio where, I did bring this studio to life. I mean, Hilliard Studio Method came out of my hip pocket when I was 50 years old, as a way to get Clary in shape for her wedding, but also pretty much, how do we stay healthy and vibrant and strong? The movement of my body and the movement and being in here and really powering through some hard workouts and having a community of people around me that were doing the same thing, that maybe weren't talking to me about my divorce, but were talking and working with me side by side, breathing with me side by side through physical activity, really, really leveled me up.
I think that's huge for sure. I mean, we know the science of how any workout is going to get those endorphins going and make you feel better. I think you can often feel powerless and weak and exhausted when you're going through something like a
just
divorce.
To get out of the bed is exhausting.
Right. And I think to give yourself just a moment, an hour, sometimes it's not enough of physical relief. And for anybody doing a workout and whatever you're going through, don't use your workout as a time to beat yourself up.
Boy, there's so many people who want to throw stones at that, People say, oh, I'm so tired of hearing self-care or taking care of yourself. But honestly and truly, if we all took care of ourselves, we wouldn't have a lot of our problems.
Right.
We wouldn't be going through those divorces maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. What I do know is when you take care of yourself, when you're physically active and physically fit, your brain is working better. Your emotions are a little more in control. You're less apt to say something you really wish you hadn't said or go into some kind of spiraling emotional roller coaster thing.
Exactly. And we know the power of cortisol and how that hormone can either help us or crush us. And if it's running rampant and that stress level is very high, then we lose the ability to make proper nutrition choices. We lose the ability to sleep well. And those are the basic life skills that keep us healthy and going. And so when you do go through something monumental like a divorce, keeping yourself healthy is number one.
It's number one. And again, especially if you have children, you've got to make yourself that priority. If you're going through the divorce, and sometimes it's not, they don't want to, one or the other doesn't want to go through the divorce. If you're the victim of this kind of a thing where, you've been left or whatever is going on, that is when you've really got to just get your body moving. This is where if you do it once, you'll understand it. If you do it once, physical and emotional and mental health are one thing. They're all combined. You can't have one without the other. You just can't. And so when you can't get out of the bed because your husband or your wife have left you or whatever's happened in your life and you just can't hardly get up the stairs, that's when you have to get out of the bed and get up the stairs. And maybe you just do that, but you take it one step at a time. And maybe you walk out the door and you walk up and down your road or you do whatever, you will start to feel it. That movement will beget more movement, which will beget more positive feelings, which then will beget more understanding and intellectual movement.
Yeah, just that ability to tackle
Right.
the next thing at a time. And I think what you've said is really important. We both went through a mediation and a choice for every party to whether or not that made them happy or not, but everybody made a choice at the end. And a lot of people who are going through divorce haven't been able to make that choice.
That's true.
They weren't maybe the one to choose it, and that's the group that I feel the most sad for, when you don't have that.
Well,
Hold on. When somebody took that control away from you, you've got to find a way to get it back.
that's true. And also, that's when you're going to learn those are your best training grounds. When your perceived power, your perceived life has been taken away from you because someone else who you loved so much has just broken your heart. Well, when your heart is broken and when you're down on the floor is your best place to then really connect into your hurt, your pain, your vulnerability. How did I get here? Yes, I may still love him, her. How will I manage? And that is literally one movement at a time, picking yourself up.
Right.
The further down we go with those emotions, the more we have of the ability. We learn so much from there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be crushed. I don't want to be crushed. You don't want to be. But once you are, and I've had a version of that, and that's where you come strong. That's where you either learn your strength or you give up. And I don't want anybody to give up because we're all such valuable human beings.
Yes.
And you may feel very devalued, very worthless if something has gone down in your life that left you alone and left you in bad straits.
And I want to just say to that point of the miracle of all those millions of people on the planet that two get together, there's so many fish in the sea. And so A, you don't have to be with another fish.
I thought that was a
B,
grass greener fish.
There's a lot of other fish out there that maybe will make you happier than you've ever been.
And it could be a pink fish and not a blue fish.
a red fish.
Just kidding. But I mean, it is true. I mean, it's an opportunity. Life is full of opportunities.
Right.
Let's just go into it. Divorce is a crushing moment. It's just hard. I don't care if you're me and my ex-husband, which it was less hard than maybe it was for you or somebody. But it was super, super hard. And it took me a long time to get over it. So just know that. Just know that, and look for your friends. And if you've lost your friends over it, you will find more. You just get yourself moving one step at a time. You will find support. If you can't find support, you call us. I mean, you come
That's
here.
That's so true.
You come here.
It is true. There have been so many women and men probably who have walked through this door. We know they've gone through a divorce, a separation, whatever it is. Maybe they've rekindled. Maybe they've gotten divorced. Maybe they've gotten remarried. And I see the strength in these women, sometimes more than others.
We're going to a wedding next weekend, and this is a woman who's been in this studio at Hilliard Studio Method since day one or something, that had a crushing divorce. I mean, the one you weren't sure. She was probably not sure she could come out of this. She not only came out of it, she's crushing it, and she's getting married to this amazing man next weekend or something. Oops. And we're going to the wedding.
I know.
That is one woman that I've seen. I've seen a lot of them.
Yep.
But I worried because she was really, really.
Right.
It was hard.
And I don't know what it is like for men, but I do know for a couple of the women I've seen, I just feel so lucky that we just fell into each other, and that was that. It makes me not be able to really understand what it's like to be someone my age or in their 20s or 30s or your age and wanting to be with another person and having to get out in the dating world again. I can't speak to it.
Either.
I've watched it with some friends. It's really challenging, and good luck.
I think when you're
I don't know
your
what the
age,
hell I'm saying.
I don't know. When you're your age, I think you are looking for somebody else. Trust me, when you're my age, you're not going to look for somebody else.
Right.
You're just saying, I am good to go. But yeah, that is a whole nother cross to bear, I suppose. But I think first you've got to get over that. If we, whatever we don't deal with, deals with us.
That's right.
So we got to deal with this hurt and things that are happening during divorce. Get that dealt with. And now it's going to be maybe years of dealing with it, but you can't let it just be shoved down and then go and expect to meet the man or woman of your dreams.
Yeah.
You've got to come with your whole self. So before you be your whole self, you got to pull it apart and see the viscera on the floor and the blood and the guts and the tears and all that.
Sure.
And you got to put it back together.
Right, because whatever was going on in the previous relationship, it's just going to likely come up again.
Oh, it always does.
I mean, our habits are the
Yeah.
same, and so
Yeah.
it takes a lot of
I
work.
can't think of any
to
anybody
recognize.
more different than my ex-husband than you. I mean, y'all resemble each other not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
Same. Right? Same
Right,
with you?
right,
Yeah.
right. So that's interesting.
So you
So
ha-
we went off the
that's a
beaten
whole
path.
different world.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's other people that if you take care of yourself, get it organized, get it therapized, get it fixed, open it up, and then watch yourself rise. And
Well,
then
and I
you'll meet
want to
these
go to the friend part of it because anybody who tuned out 25 minutes ago and is no longer listening because they haven't gone through a divorce or don't know anybody who has, you do.
Oh, they had. Everybody knows somebody.
You do. And, I think there's that challenge of our friends are getting divorced. Like, whose side are we on?
Oh, that's true.
Who are we going to maintain friends with? And if that's the case, I would only recommend not talking shit at all and just be a listener because you don't want to be involved in that. Most
Right.
people who are ranting or venting just probably need to get it out and then just be heard. So I wouldn't say we had to go through that, but I think being a friend of someone who's gone through divorce, it
Yeah.
takes patience. It's a long time.
It's grief.
So you're having to deal with a friend who is probably, you have to hear about the demise of the relationship. You have to
1,000
hear
times.
about the separation, which in North Carolina is a year. You have to hear about the divorce. Like, it's a lot for friends of divorced people to go through. Be honest, be a listener, try to support your friend. I would say try not to get involved in the details, but just
Yeah.
support them and take care of yourself too.
Yeah.
People going through a divorce need you.
They do.
So stick into it.
And a really good
Stick
friend
with it.
allows that story to be told 1,000
Yeah.
times. It really is true. The telling it sometimes, eventually they just can't tell it anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's very therapeutic to have someone you can just tell your troubles to, but you can't let it, take you both down.
Take you
on
down.
that.
And I think
It's,
another element is knowledge. I mean, I remember I was so ignorant when I was young and didn't take care of myself and didn't have my own money and anything. And I remember just going to a lawyer and spending money I didn't have just to learn what the law was, to learn what the rules were, to be informed, to know what I was going up, I guess, against. I mean, it's so
Right.
sad. I mean, it's a deeper conversation of a
I
systemic
think a lot of
problem.
women were similar to you, and I don't mean to be sexist, and I don't mean to do
No, no,
that,
no.
but in the case
It's a problem.
of you, I saw that, and I think that is something that none of us want to plan on the worst, but we've got to hope for the best, but always be ready for the worst and educate yourself. No matter, I'd say before you get married, educate yourself on who has what, whose name is the house in, the car is in, who's got control. Because whoever's controlling and who has the power in that relationship can use it not always to your best interest,
Yeah.
especially when things go south.
Right.
So I think the more we can be open with each other in relationships and in an equal partnership financially, there's the freedom of being financially independent.
Yep.
Is and then choosing to be with your partner is a whole different playing field
Yeah.
than when you are financially dependent on your partner.
Right.
Now, we know it takes sacrifice. A man or a woman is going to stay home with children sometimes and all that sort of thing. But if you can try really hard to work that out so that there's a more equal footing and an equal respect. One might have more money because they're the ones that are hitting the job and you've got the kids to take care of. But there's got to be a respect and an equality in a marriage that power is not only in the hands of the one who's financially.
Absolutely.
Got it.
And there's lots of ways to do that and lots of people to go to for help, whether that's a therapist or a financial advisor or a clergy member or a friend or, your mentor.
Right.
And
Find a
there's
good lawyer.
Lots of
Tell 'em
good lots of good advice on how, when the money is like this, who puts what amount in to the
Right.
joint or whatever it is you choose to do. And so I wasn't armed with that, and it's much harder after the fact to try to learn your literal rights.
Right.
And be kind of scrambling.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with sitting down with your partner before marriage and be like, in our state, what are the laws? Like, are we willing to get married? If we want to get divorced, are we willing to go through that? I mean, it's kind of like as
Or not even-
negative as planning for your death. Like, you don't leave everybody with their hands in the air. Like, you have a will and you have a plan, and as sad and dark as that is, it's preparedness, it's knowledge. And so I equate those two.
Yeah, I think a good anti-nuptial contract is a must.
Anti-nuptial.
I definitely do. I mean, you want to, because we also want to know where our money is. I mean, for a long time, I didn't know where my money was in my marriage. Through life, I learned, and we readjusted and did the things we needed to do, so it felt a little more fair. But you don't want to go in blindly there. And
No.
I think a good any prenup, whatever you want to call it, is a must, because that's going to open the conversation. A lot of people do sit down with their clergy and they talk about, what are our values, spiritually and all this, but also physically, what are our values?
Right. Well, I'd like to say to that, I mean, I think it's important to know your own before others, because I was so not myself and willing to be codependent on another person that it's, when you do the Enneagram test, when we did the Enneagram test, we should do a whole podcast on that one.
Yes, we are, because I just pulled that book
Because
out today.
you're competitive, there is a piece of you that, like, prior to doing it, you kind of wanted to answer the right way.
I wanted to be a number. No,
Yeah.
I didn't. No, I didn't want to be a certain number. I knew there was one in there I didn't want to be.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that?
And none of them are right or wrong.
I know.
Right? Like, our personalities are not right or wrong. But trying to answer for
That
who
was
you
fun.
think you should be or should be
Yeah.
when you do something like a prenuptial anything.
Exactly.
Of course I'm going to be XYZ, but
Right.
in 5 years we're going to be different. So if we're not
Right.
willing to grow or be honest, then you can't start off on the right foot.
Right.
Yeah,
I
we'll go
agree.
back and do an Enneagram
We
thing
are.
with you.
We are.
It was
I
fun.
literally pulled that out this morning. No,
You did?
Yeah, I was reading it because I was messing around, and I love that. It was fun,
Uh-huh.
and it is right on. I am right on the number I'm on. We're not going to go into that now. We're going to get an actual expert to help us on that one day.
Lessons, divorce, we
Uh-huh.
said for sure. Take care of yourself.
Right. Number one,
Take care of yourself.
Well, we never said get a good. I tried to throw that in.
Let's go back to that.
Let's go back to that.
Let's get a good lawyer.
I know in many cases women go to a lawyer and they go, "Oh, your husband's had him on retainer for like 6 years." And you're like, "What?" That's weird
scary.
and sad and scary to say, but that happens more than you would think. Just have your information. You said that. Get yourself educated. Anti-nuptial agreements. I don't know that you need a lawyer on retainer, but at least know your legal rights. And
Yeah. Well, and it's that physical and mental and spiritual well-being.
Right.
And that support from your friends and your family. And even now, I mean, it's been 100 years since we've been divorced, but I went through something that made me feel icky with my clan. And it definitely related to divorce. And I called a friend who had been divorced. And even though it had to do with children and feeling left out, basically, she didn't have that. Like, she's been divorced and no children, but she just heard me. Like, there's a different pain that she shares from me, but she still shares the divorce pain. Whatever those feelings are, shame, disappointment, loneliness, embarrassment, anger, frustration. Like, she just said, "I'm so sorry."
right. That's
I
all
get
you got to
it.
say. And just
Yep.
listen.
Yep.
Right. I hope you
Should
don't
we
have
get
to-
married and then divorce?
Yeah. Why don't we show them how it's done? We'll get married and get quickly divorced.
No,
we'll get a
baby.
really good anti-nuptial agreement.
That's why we're not
No,
getting
doing
married.
it.
I
We're
can't
not-
deal with this.
We're not doing that.
Not getting
not
married.
doing that. We're not getting a divorce for sure.
I love you.
I love you
I
too.
love you so much.
So, well, thank you. I love you too. Okay, so we're not getting a divorce. I'm so glad. I've already done that once. I don't want to do that again. So, all right. But if you're going through it, we're here for you.
Absolutely.
Keep your body moving. Keep taking care of yourself, and all those
Take
other
care
things.
of the babies.
Yeah.
And
And
You're going to be okay.
yeah. And if you have nobody else, and I don't say that really flippantly either, you just call us. We're here, and we'll support you right here in this room. Okay?
Love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to us today, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can now find our podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. If you liked it, please share, rate, and review. We love 5 stars. And we hope you'll work out with us online or in studio at HilliardStudioMethod.com.